You wake up, and before your feet even touch the ground, you already feel tired. It's not the kind of tired a single night's rest can fix. It's heavier, deeper, almost existential. Your body moves because it has to, but your mind feels chained, as if it's dragging something invisible behind it. And then, that voice inside whispers, "You're just lazy. You need to do more. Why aren't you better yet?" That voice has been there for years, hasn't it? The one that tells you that if you were stronger, more motivated, more disciplined, life wouldn't feel this heavy. But what if that voice is lying to you? What if you are not lazy at all? Because the truth is, you're living in a system designed to make you feel exactly like this. A world where being tired is considered normal, where feeling overwhelmed is a badge of honor, where even your rest time feels like a performance. Welcome to the Burnout Society. The Burnout Society isn't just about overwork at your job. It's deeper than that. It's about how you measure yourself by productivity, how you judge your worth by output, and how you confuse being busy with being alive. It's about how you've been conditioned to push harder, move faster, never stop, and then blame yourself when you collapse. You see, what we often call laziness is rarely laziness at all. It's your body and mind saying, "Enough. I can't keep running like this." It's a survival response to a culture that expects you to constantly perform, to constantly be available, to constantly improve. In other words, you are not lazy, you are caught in a trap, and that trap is invisible because it doesn't come with chains or prison bars. It comes disguised as opportunity. It comes dressed up as hustle culture, self-improvement, and success. We celebrate people who never stop working, who burn themselves out in the name of achievement, and we shame those who dare to slow down. This is why so many people secretly feel broken. They're exhausted, anxious, and overwhelmed, but still convinced it's their fault. They think, if I could just be more motivated, more focused, more like everyone else. But this isn't about individual weakness. It's about systemic design. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this our performance society, a culture that doesn't need an external boss to control us anymore because we've internalized the boss. We police ourselves. We push ourselves harder than anyone else ever could. We punish ourselves for resting. We feel guilty for slowing down, and we glorify being busy as if exhaustion equals value. This is why so many of us wake up every day already tired, because our minds are not free. They are trapped in a story we never chose, a story that tells us, you're only as good as what you produce. You are only valuable when you're working, but you don't have to keep living this way. Stay with me through this video, because once you understand the trap, you can begin to see the way out. And trust me, breaking free is not about becoming lazier or less ambitious. It's about reclaiming your life, your time, and your soul from a system that profits off your exhaustion. By the end of this video, you will see why what you've been calling laziness might actually be your mind and body begging you to take your life back. And maybe, for the first time, you'll realize you were never the problem to begin with. We live in a culture obsessed with doing more, moving faster, being better. From the moment you wake up, there's a voice whispering that you're behind, that you need to catch up. Emails wait before your first sip of coffee. Notifications ping like alarms, pulling your mind in 100 directions. Even moments of silence feel wrong, as if you should be filling them with something productive. But have you ever stopped to wonder why you feel this way? Why rest feels like guilt? Why free time feels like wasted time? Why you feel anxious when you're not doing something, anything? This is no accident. This is the Burnout Society. It's a trap so sophisticated, it doesn't even need walls. You don't need a boss shouting at you to work harder. You've already internalized the boss. You do it to yourself, and you don't even realize it. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han describes our world as a performance society, one where freedom has been twisted into self-exploitation. In the past, work was enforced by external pressure, managers, deadlines, rules. Today, we are free to work on our own terms, but that freedom is an illusion. We tell ourselves we are choosing to grind, choosing to hustle, choosing to be productive, when in reality, we've been programmed to see endless performance as the only way to have value. And it's not just jobs. Look around. Social media rewards you for posting your best life 24/7, Friends humble brag about their 80-hour work weeks like it's a competition. Even rest, the very thing meant to recharge you, becomes a performance. Yoga for Instagram, self-care days that look like curated photo shoots. There's no real pause anymore, only a different kind of output. This trap works because it attacks the core of your identity. It convinces you that you are what you do. You're not a person anymore. You're a project. You are numbers on a productivity app, likes on a post, tasks crossed off a list. And when you fall behind, when you feel tired, when you can't keep up with the impossible pace, you don't blame the system, you blame yourself. This is the genius and cruelty of the burnout society. It keeps you running even when there's no finish line. It convinces you that exhaustion is success, that constant effort is love, that stopping, even for a moment, is weakness. And so, you keep pushing, even when every cell in your body screams for rest. But here's the truth. This trap was never built for you to win. You weren't meant to feel free in it. You were meant to keep running because the system profits from your exhaustion. The more tired you are, the easier it is to control you. The more overwhelmed you feel, the less likely you are to question why you feel this way in the first place. Think about how many times you've said, "If I just worked harder, I'd finally feel on top of things." But has that day ever actually come? Or is it always just out of reach, like a finish line that moves further away every time you think you're getting close? This is why so many people live in quiet despair. They believe they are failing, but in reality, they are living exactly as designed, trapped, exhausted, and ashamed. Because shame is powerful. Shame keeps you running. Shame keeps you silent. And as long as you think you're the problem, you'll never see the bigger problem. But you're starting to see it now, aren't you? That heavy feeling you've been calling laziness might actually be a survival instinct, your body begging you to stop running in someone else's race. Your lack of motivation might be the first step to waking up. And if you listen closely, you might realize something else. You've been waiting for permission to slow down. You don't need permission. You need awareness. The burnout society doesn't just steal your time, it steals your identity. Little by little, without even noticing, you stop living for yourself and start living for the invisible scoreboard. You measure your worth by how busy you are, how many things you check off your list, how valuable you appear to others. At first, it feels like progress. You're hustling, achieving, chasing goals. But over time, something shifts. You no longer ask, "What do I want?" Instead, you ask, "What do I have to do next?" Your life becomes a series of obligations, some real, some self-imposed, and you lose sight of why you're doing any of them in the first place. Psychologist Carl Jung warned about this kind of life over a century ago. He said that when we ignore our inner life, when we live only for external validation, our unconscious begins to revolt. It shows up as anxiety, chronic fatigue, depression, and sometimes what we simply call laziness. But what looks like laziness on the surface is often something much deeper, the soul's resistance to a life without meaning. Have you noticed how guilt creeps in the moment you try to rest? You sit down to do nothing, and suddenly your mind screams, "You should be doing something right now." That guilt is not natural, it's programmed. You've been conditioned to see rest as weakness, to see stillness as failure. And so, even when you stop working, you don't actually rest. You scroll, you multitask, you fill the silence with noise, anything to avoid feeling like you're wasting time. This constant pressure has real psychological consequences. Anxiety, the endless fear that you're falling behind. Imposter syndrome, the feeling that no matter what you achieve, you're still not enough. Burnout, a state of emotional and physical exhaustion so deep it can take months or even years to recover. And worst of all, it creates an identity crisis, because deep down, you know you are more than your productivity, but you can't shake the belief that if you stop running, you'll lose everything: your value, your relationships, your place in the world. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny and suppress because they don't fit the image we want to project. In the burnout society, the shadow grows bigger and heavier because we suppress the very human needs for rest, play, and imperfection. We create a false self, an image of relentless strength and discipline, and pretend it's who we are. But eventually, the shadow fights back. This is why you sometimes collapse for no reason, why you feel lazy on random days, why even small tasks feel impossible. Your body is not betraying you. Your mind is not weak. You are experiencing a rebellion from within, your unconscious telling you it's time to stop lying to yourself. You can't fake productivity forever, and maybe, just maybe, that voice you've been ignoring, the one saying, "I can't keep doing this," isn't weakness. Maybe it's wisdom. Because if you never stop to confront your shadow, to integrate the parts of yourself you've been ignoring, you'll keep living someone else's life instead of your own. Here's the real truth. What you call laziness might actually be your soul begging you to slow down, to look inward, to reconnect with what actually matters to you. And until you do, no amount of hustle will fill the emptiness. You didn't choose this way of living. You didn't wake up one day and say, "I want to measure my worth by how busy I am." No, you were trained to live like this, slowly, silently, and from an early age. Think about it. From the moment you were a child, the message was clear. Work hard and you'll be loved. Achieve more and you'll be respected. Resting is lazy. Wasting time is shameful. School was never just about learning. It was about competing. Grades didn't measure creativity or happiness. They measured compliance and output. Even your free time wasn't truly free. Extracurricular activities, competitive sports, resume-building experiences. Every moment was preparing you for one thing: life as a cog in the machine. And then came work. Corporate culture rewarded the ones who stayed late, answered emails at midnight, and skipped vacations. Social media amplified it, a 24/7 highlight reel of hustle and achievement. Suddenly, you weren't just competing with your coworkers, you were competing with the entire world. How could you possibly keep up? But here's the cruel part. Even when you win by society's standards, it still feels like losing. You hit the goal, you achieve the milestone, you get the promotion, and still, something feels missing. You think, maybe I need to work harder, maybe I'm still not enough. That's the trap. It never ends. The burnout society thrives on this exact cycle. 1. Set impossible standards. 2. Make you feel guilty when you can't reach them. 3. Offer temporary rewards when you overperform. 4. Raise the standard again. It's a perfect system for control because it convinces you that the problem is you, not the system. You internalize the voice of the taskmaster, and soon, you don't even need external pressure anymore. You beat yourself up, you push yourself harder, you become both the prisoner and the prison guard. But here's the truth you need to hear. It's not your fault. You were born into a culture that glorifies exhaustion and shames rest, a culture that praises those who sacrifice everything for success and quietly condemns those who dare to step back. Even your entertainment is designed to keep you hooked. Binge-worthy shows, endless scroll feeds, constant notifications. Everything is built to keep your attention on output or consumption. And every moment you're not producing or consuming, that's when guilt creeps in. But there's something powerful in realizing this. If you didn't choose this system, you can choose to question it. You can choose to stop blaming yourself and start seeing the bigger picture. Because the moment you see the invisible design, the moment you realize that guilt and exhaustion are not personal flaws but cultural programming, you take back your power. You are not weak because you feel tired. You are not broken because you can't keep up with impossible expectations. You are human, and being human is not a failure. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is your moment to make it conscious, to see the program, to reject it, and to start rewriting your own story. So, how do you escape a trap that has no visible walls? How do you free yourself from something that lives inside your mind, inside your daily habits, inside the very culture you grew up in? The answer isn't in working harder. The answer is in working differently and thinking differently. The first step is redefining success. Ask yourself, what actually matters to me? Not what impresses your boss, not what looks good on Instagram, not what gets the most likes or praise. What matters to you? This is harder than it sounds because for years, You've been conditioned to chase someone else's version of success. But when you stop and really think about it, you'll realize much of what you do every day doesn't even align with what you truly value. The second step is setting boundaries and actually respecting them. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're survival. Start small. Turn off work notifications after a certain hour. Protect one evening a week for rest or creativity. Say no to commitments that drain you. At first, you'll feel guilty. That's normal. It's proof of how deep the programming runs. But with practice, that guilt turns into freedom. The third step is reclaiming rest as an act of power. In a culture that glorifies exhaustion, resting is a form of rebellion. Give yourself permission to do nothing, not scrolling, not multitasking, not optimizing, just being. This is not laziness. This is healing. You need to unlearn the idea that rest must be earned or justified. Rest is a right, not a reward. The fourth step is reconnecting with your inner life. Carl Jung believed that ignoring your inner world leads to imbalance and suffering. That means paying attention to your dreams, your emotions, your deeper desires, not just your to-do list. Write in a journal, meditate, spend time in silence. Ask yourself, who am I when I'm not performing for anyone? These practices might feel uncomfortable at first because you're used to constant stimulation, but this discomfort is a sign of growth. The fifth step is finding your own pace. Not everyone's life has to look the same. Some people thrive in high-energy environments. Others need slower, quieter lives. There is no right speed, only the one that's right for you. Stop comparing your journey to others. Comparison is the fuel of burnout. And finally, practice self-compassion. You will slip. You will fall back into old patterns sometimes. That's okay. Breaking free isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing, over and over again, to reclaim your time, your mind, and your soul. Here's the thing. The burnout society is powerful, but it only works if you keep playing its game. When you start saying no, when you stop measuring yourself by constant output, the trap begins to lose its grip. Every small step, every boundary, every moment of rest, every conscious choice is an act of resistance. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are waking up. You've been told for so long that your exhaustion is laziness, that your lack of constant drive is weakness, that if you just worked harder, you'd finally feel fulfilled. But now you see the truth. It's not you that's broken. It's the system you were born into. The burnout society was designed to keep you running. It was designed to keep you tired enough not to question it, distracted enough not to resist it, ashamed enough to blame yourself instead of seeing the bigger picture. But awareness changes everything, because once you see the trap, you can't unsee it. And once you know it exists, you have a choice. Keep running in circles, or step off the track and live on your own terms. Freedom doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters. It comes from choosing rest without guilt, setting boundaries without apology, and defining success for yourself instead of inheriting someone else's version of it. It comes from looking inward, facing the parts of yourself you've ignored, your shadow, your fear, your need for approval, and integrating them into something whole. Carl Jung believed that freedom begins when we bring the unconscious to light. And that's what you're doing right now, in this moment. Making the unconscious conscious. This is your turning point, your invitation to reclaim your time, your mind, and your soul. But here's the thing. Awareness alone isn't enough. You need to act on it. So start small. Close your laptop an hour earlier tonight. Take a walk without your phone. Say no to one thing that drains you this week. These small acts of rebellion build into something powerful. A life that feels like it's yours again. And if you felt something watching this, if this spoke to the part of you that's been quietly whispering, I can't keep living like this, then you're not alone. There are thousands, maybe millions of people waking up to the same realization that life is more than hustle, more than output, more than burnout. We're building something different here. A space to explore the hidden forces shaping our minds, our identities, and our reality, and to find ways to break free from them. So if you're ready to keep going, to keep uncovering these truths and learning how to actually live, not just survive, join us. Click subscribe, Hit that notification bell and share this with someone who needs to hear it, because freedom spreads when we share it. You are not lazy, you are not broken, you are human, and that is enough.